Um, Hi, everybody. I am Michael Bean, and this is your lesson from myfreeactingclass.com for Thursday, December the 3rd. We are here with the fabulous Raugi Yu. If I'm pronouncing your name wrong,
No,
this is your chance to let me know
uh,
publicly.
no, that's it. It's Raugi.
We looked at Rogi's IMDb page yesterday. So this is where you can go if you want to see some of his credits. Although you won't see all of the fabulous teaching and professional theater that he has done here on this page. So, without any further ado, uh, Rogi.
Hey,
Okay. So you were just saying that you've got a contract with the Arts Club to do their live streams.
hmm
What are you learning about theater in quarantine? I'm totally fascinated by that.
it's very fascinating. So they've chosen to do one person shows,
Mhm.
which I think is that makes sense. So and then they've chosen to hire two different actors, right? And each actor has their own stage management team. So um, they alternate um, performing the show. And it's also in case, one team gets sick or gets COVID or whatever, the other team can continue
Okay.
with the show, which I thought was really quite brilliant. Um, and then, because I did some work with them in the summer um, through this initiative that they called ECOS, and they just kind of hired 25 artists to be employees of the Arts Club. And, we did outreach, we did education, we helped them with you know, whatever diversity issues they were looking at, things like that. And then from there, I was kind of like, well, my main crossover skills for you would be my experience in directing, directing sitcoms. If you want to stream plays, that kind of thing, then I think we're looking at that type of a three camera setup. And then so when they finally moved into a season, then they said, okay, Rogi, let's start setting up some live streams. So I was just thinking a lot, watching other live streams, thinking about like the psychology again of the home viewer watching a play, and it was tricky, because and I don't know if this is other people's philosophy, but it's certainly mine. And
Mhm.
Arts Club, is seems to be okay with it.
And for anybody who's watching who doesn't know, the Arts Club Theatre is Vancouver's largest professional established theatre company. They have four professional stages, and
Three stages, and typically they would do over 12 shows in a season.
yes,
It's huge. It's massive.
yeah.
Yeah. And what a lot of people don't know, I think, about the Arts Club is they don't get as much funding as we think from the city and all this kind of stuff. Most of their revenue is generated through ticket sales,
Mhm.
which is which is not like a lot of theaters around Canada, you know. And so when COVID hit, they really took this massive hit because
Mhm.
there were no ticket sales were happening. Um, so, anyways, I'm kind of like, if I make a camera move too slick while I'm live streaming a play, or if I do some kind of really awesome fade or whatever, suddenly the viewer at home goes, "Oh, I'm watching a show. I'm watching a TV show."
Right, right. And they start comparing it to television.
Yeah, or like, "Oh, I'm watching a movie." And
Okay.
then then the audience sits back and kind of starts, flipping the channel kind of thing. But all the acting is not designed for camera.
Right.
So then the audience goes, "Oh, this movie's not very good." But it's like, but dude, you're not watching a movie. So I'm constantly trying to, switch the shots so that it makes the audience lean forward, like work a little bit to
Mm-hmm.
understand what the hell's going on, you know? Um, because theater is really not a sit back and entertain me thing.
Yeah.
It's you are participating in it. Your energy is part of my performance now, you know? So I'm constantly trying to make the audience kind of go, why am I looking at a light right now? What's happening here? But I can hear her talking, you know? And then just when I feel like we cannot sustain that anymore, we cut to her. And then
Fun.
she's
So you're playing with the shots in like a deliberately theatrical way as a way to
trying
keep
to,
people
yeah.
engaged.
So
And
that's been my experience with that. Like, it's pretty awesome. You know, at no point do I want the actor to know I'm there.
mhm,
So, our cameras are set pretty far away, like in the house.
mhm,
Right? And right up till recently, we could have up to 50 audience members in the
mhm.
house. So that was really nice to get some kind of biofeedback, you know?
Nice, right? So you could include the audience experience with people watching.
Yeah. But unfortunately, this last show, 12 Dates of Christmas, that was supposed to open last week, last Wednesday, because of the new health order, we could not have any audience.
Right.
So then they decided to beef up, so to speak, the live stream in case that's the only one we could sell
Mhm.
and people could see. Um, and so they're like, okay, well, Rogi, what do you think we can do? Right. And so I kind of started breaking a lot of my own rules, my own philosophies.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, okay, I think we need some pans here. I think we need a couple of tilts, I don't want to do any weird fades or anything like that because we don't want it to look like editing.
Mhm.
That really pulls us away from the live experience. But it was really like, so we had a whole day to rehearse with the people that I was going to have as my camera people. So, we have like three cameras, three camera operators, we have a switcher, and then I'm on headset with everyone. Just like the camera coordinator for a sitcom.
Right. Yeah, and so one of the things that Rory was saying just before we got started, when we were just checking in about how he was doing, he said, "Oh, I'm really busy. I'm hustling and doing all these things." And so this is such an interesting example of that sort of hybrid career that a professional artist has. Is Rogi is using his very specific experience, acting in and directing sitcom, and sort of understanding the kind of camera work that goes with that, and his experience in professional theater, and his experience with technology, and the fact that like he was already consulting with the arts club and just kind of like putting that together, and that's only one of the things that he's got on his plate right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so the sort of larger picture uh, to that I want to tie that into is just how diverse a real career in the arts is, which I think, that we've got folks watching these videos, who are as young as like, 8, 9, 10,
Right.
and then, we've got folks who are coming to this as adults, and trying to sort of find their way in, as adults. And so we've got, and then we've got some folks who've, already done little bits and pieces of professional work and are just sort of interested in beefing up their skills, or understanding more about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's this pandemic has, shown me, um, like I thought I hustled before, and I
Hmm.
did. I mean, I did. But this is like really hustling, and I think in the most positive forms.
Hmm.
I'm really, I've always been a huge fan of actors knowing who they are. I mean, that's a huge part of my philosophy of acting and a huge part of my, when I train actors. My very first questions are often like, who are you? Right? Like, really, how can we first accept who you are? So we really know who you are. Then you can find your way in kind of any training, is in my opinion. You can find your way through any scene, any character, you know. So the who am I is really important to me. Um, and then, when the pandemic hit, I was like, wow, like yeah, who am I right now? You know, what am I made of? What are the things inside me? And like you were saying, Michael, I'm like, yeah, these are the things I know are a part of my craft. And then I started to go, okay, I'm just gonna stay open to that. And then as the opportunities arise, I go, okay, let's make a move here. You know, I think I can be useful here. I think I can make some money here. I think I can continue to survive.
Mm.
Um, right. And I think like everyone, I was very prepared to, work in a grocery store, dig ditches, whatever. Right. I think as an actor, if you've been in the biz for a while, you're kind of used to that anyways, going, well, if I got to go do something, I go do it, you know? But luckily, following this philosophy, I guess, enabled me to just kind of continue to position myself, to use the skills that I have to cross over.
Mm. And so you're still teaching, and you've been working in film and TV, and you're doing
Yeah, I still teaching.
live stream project.
Yeah. Um, a lot of things, moved on to Zoom, right? So I was still workshopping plays
Mhm.
on Zoom. There was the odd day I would like teach like an 8-hour day on Zoom, which was killer. Like
Yeah, it's a lot.
it's so, yeah, and resisting the urge to internally go like this all the time because I'm just looking at a screen, right? An 8-hour day in person is really no hardship for me at all because there's students, there's people there, and we're talking and I'm feeling what they're feeling and they're
Yeah.
feeling what I'm feeling. It's so energizing to connect. But through the screen, I'm just going, stay grounded, stay grounded, you know,
Mm.
look, watch for minimal cues. So I'm just watching people's faces and their breathing. And I'm like, oh, okay, this person's no longer breathing. Um, the eyes have glossed over, right? Like I'm just looking for things like that now, as opposed to constantly kind of blasting this kind of organic energy out into the
Mm.
screen. It's
Mm.
not really going anywhere, you know? So I'm literally just trying to make this connection out into the cosmos, and hopefully I'm connecting to the people who are on the screen with me. And that's kind of the extent of that. And then the rest is just, it's kind of all here now, you know? It's been fascinating.
Something that came up from one of the students yesterday, we did a sort of little informal question and answer session, um, was, how do you help people connect, via Zoom? And so, Duke, if you're watching this lesson, rewind and watch the last 30 seconds of,
Yeah.
what you said about his own practice, and then anything that you're learning, to offer students, right? Like, because now at this point, now you've been doing this for 8 months. And so
Mm,
you've had the chance to try a whole bunch of different things. And so you're probably down to your like handful of suggestions or tools that you lead with when you're helping students connect. What are you learning is effective for people to offer them?
so are we talking like connecting to themselves or to others? What kind of connection are we
I,
talking about,
I,
Michael?
I mean, I'm open to you sharing any of your wisdom. I think specifically where people are running into or feeling challenges in connecting with other people, because they're only looking at a computer screen and they're not like really getting that person's body in front of them. Like you said, they're not able to take in their energy in all of those ways.
Right. Okay. Um, I will tell you exactly what I do. And, you know, it's pretty esoteric. Um, and I will say it has served me well for over 20 years now.
Okay.
So it does start with the self. Whatever practice you do, uh, you know, we accept. Whatever cosmos you connect with God, heaven, Buddha, doesn't matter. It's like your relationship to the cosmos. So my visualizations are almost always the same. I ground through my feet. Literally in my mind, I'll grow roots out of my feet. It's not an uncommon grounding. And I let the roots just punch through the earth. Doesn't matter where I am. If you're at a penthouse of a building, see the roots just punch through all the floors of that building, through the foundation, and driving through the earth, getting very close to the center of the planet. Don't go to the center because it's magma, you'll burn up. Makes no sense to go there. Go close, right? Yeah, where it's warm. Hang on. That's where you can totally regenerate, right? So I draw up power from the roots. So that comes inside, and then I visualize literally doors, they open up on the top of my head. And the cosmos, I use this word, allow.
Mm.
I don't make anything happen. I allow things to happen. And then I allow the cosmos to come streaming in like this big column of cosmic power. And then, much like at the base of a mountain, where the fresh water comes down and meets the ocean and it starts to mix, right? Those areas are there's so many of those areas in BC. I suggest you go to one because it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal energetic space because this is where the ocean is made. It's like insane to me. I'm like, what am I watching? What am I doing right here? Fresh water, and it literally mixes, and then so the same thing I do. Cosmic energy comes in, roots draw up the power from the earth, it mixes, and then I redistribute to the rest of my body.
Mm.
That's just the prep. That's just prep right there. Boom. And so right now, right, I see you, I see Candy Sparks, I see Lori McKenzie. These are the only names I see. And whoever else is watching, I say, go gadget, astral body, right? And if you don't know that reference, it's from a cartoon, from, Inspector Gadget. But I just go connect. And then I allow my higher self, whatever you want to call it, I allow that energy to go out and then like connect to Candy, Lori, to you, Michael, and it's not invasive. I'm
Mm.
not trying to change anyone. I'm just open to connection. And then that combined to, if I'm teaching a class or whatever, or if I'm like listening, that helps me to see things like, you know, breathing, or I'll get a vibe, I'll get a feeling, and I mean, I was just doing a coaching before here. I was helping someone put them on tape, and I just had to stop and say, I feel like just not really trusting yourself right now. Is that what's happening, or what's happening, right? And they're like, yeah, man, like I don't trust what I'm doing. I can't get behind this scene. I think it's stupid, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's start from there. Let's not try to ignore that or fix it. There's certain words I don't use, mainly because they trigger me, so I don't use them.
Mm.
Like fix, you know, right? Because that means it implies something's broken,
Mm.
and I'm like, I don't think you're broken. You're just having a hard time with the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing to fix. What's happening? The curiosity, right? Uh, is what it is. That is what I like. That is what I do every day, all day. It's how I teach. It's how I exist as an actor, as a human being. It's how I do my Zoom calls. It's how I do my Zoom classes. And I would suggest, the same thing, something like that, for students as well if you're like receiving
Mm.
information, because if you're connected in that way, you'll be able to go, hey, Rogi, can you explain a bit more what you were just talking about? And then I will. And that's probably a piece of information you need, that your higher self is kind of connected to my higher self. And then I can drop in that information for you. Or it's something I need, quite frankly.
Mm.
It could be something I'm actually unclear on. And so because you asked me to clarify, I become clear on it by explaining it to you.
Thank you so much for taking us into the imagistic nature of that. I
Hmm.
think that once you start working with this system, that Rogue used the word esoteric, uh, but listen for how much sort of personal symbolism, how much sensory and somatic work is in there. It's about what affects you, and you'll see the word that he used, allow, paralleled in lots of the acting literature that you read. That the that he and I are not alone in thinking
Yeah,
that you have to find conditions that allow something to happen. Even though, of course, we want to make something happen. Of course, you do.
yeah,
Human, you're like, here's where I want to go. Boom, I'm going to make it happen. Uh,
yeah.
I think the process of learning for me has involved a lot of both for myself as an actor and also facilitating other people, helping learn what are those conditions that um, create the ability to allow the thing to happen instead. Uh, the oh man, time goes so fast, Rogi. This is it's a problem of having
You know,
so much experience on us. Like we could talk to you for hours.
I'm okay to hang out a bit longer if you want,
Um,
but you don't have to.
well, I can. Um, I one of the there's so many things that we could talk about, but particularly this idea of hustle.
Yeah.
Um, the because it's something that I haven't spoken to, and I don't think I've had guests in and speak to. I would love to hear sort of what healthy hustle looks like.
Mm,
Especially if we're thinking about actors who are just getting started, whether those are like young folks or adults, coming in and trying to understand, okay, like I know intellectually that I have to look for work in all these different ways, and sort of stay active. Um,
hmm.
but hustle can get a bad name, and
Yeah.
I'm curious about your experience of healthy hustle and what that might look like for people.
Yeah, sure. Um, it's interesting you mentioned this, Michael, because I have been grappling maybe with the term hustle.
Mm,
Um, and I've just started grappling with it, like it's a term I've used my whole acting life. Um, so like, over 25 years, right? But I think about what does that mean, hustle? And it can have negative connotations. I don't think it has, for me it has positive connotations,
yeah.
but the word itself is kind of like, it's like work, or it's like you got to hustle to make it happen. It kind of means like it sounds like sacrifice,
It does have a little bit of sort of like
right?
never enough,
Yeah,
like constantly assess yourself and find yourself wanting, qualities.
yeah. Like if you don't hustle enough, you won't get it,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And
Right. So if you
so,
don't get it, you can always judge yourself for not hustling enough.
yeah, right. So I wonder about that. Um, but I think the healthy hustle is, I will admit, difficult.
Mm.
It's easy to do an unhealthy hustle and feel good about it just by using the word hustle.
Okay.
So I could eat poorly, have very negative internal dialogue, smile for the public, um, continue to live in distraction, not be in my moment, hurt the closest ones to me, um, but show up for my auditions, kill it all the time, be ready to, just like kill it, eat it. Like, yeah. That would be a very unhealthy hustle that's not sustainable, but very easy to do,
Mm,
actually.
mm,
It's actually very easy to do. And I know that because I've done it. I can't remember the last time I talked about something I didn't know about. That's not how I teach. That's
mm,
not how that's not how I live. So I get that. The healthy hustle is what is my now? Boom. And that's like terrifying question. What is my now? So when March 15th hit, I was just about to open a huge show at the Arts Club, carried away in the crest of a wave, right? 50 shows, it was like massive run. Awesome. And it's going to be a beautiful show. So it went from that to zero. Every gig after that, gone. And I'm like, what's my now? And my now was very little savings, no work for at least the next 6 months. And I really had to sit in that, just allow myself to be there. I wanted to like run away, disappear, but I'm like, just breathe. I do my grounding work. I get my cosmos beam going, and I literally like I just stayed there um, for you know days, and that's really really hard to do, right? It
mm.
requires a desire, a discipline. I don't know what word you want to use, but it or an understanding that this is the thing. This seemingly going nowhere thing is the thing we have to do right now
Mm.
because that was my moment. I was going nowhere. There was nowhere to go. And through that, you start to find out the real who am I, right? My wife and I talk about it all the time. You know, after the pandemic, we started running into so many jerks out there. And it's because when people are really under pressure, they start to reveal really who they are.
Mm.
And the whole world is under pressure right now. So I'm like, I get it. I get it. The guy was scared. She was worried about her family or whatever, so she like took it out on you, or decided not to be polite, because they were like too messed up. So you start to really see, who am I? And I go, Raugi, you're the guy who trusts the universe. That's who you are. So why stop now? Why stop trusting now? Because there's a global pandemic? Because you've never experienced this in your entire life? Because the whole world's going nuts right now? Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking you to keep trusting, to be who you are. And so that's a big part of it. Like, I know it sounds simplistic. However, the practice of it is actually quite deep and difficult.
Mm.
It's the harder thing to do, but the easy road leads to hell.
And then, application, or sort of your advice for folks who don't have the depth of acting experience that you have, and right now don't have the option to sort of just go out and put them in selves in person into a class. So that's why we've got people showing up here, watching them online,
Mm-hmm.
sort of seeking out whatever resources they can. But one of the things that I've heard from students in these lessons, is uh, a certain amount of like confusion, or bafflement. This idea of like there's like 1,000 things that I could do. Where do I start? Where do I build up? So I think every time I get a chance to, they've heard me give them suggestions lots of times. So every time I get a chance to ask somebody who has depth of experience, and particularly depth of experience, both an actor and a teacher, for sort of what advice would you give an actor who is starting out on that road?
Oh yeah,
Really useful for them.
lot. Okay, so first of all, acknowledging Lori, what you chatted. Yep, I agree with that. Um, so I think a couple of things if you want to get started, um, apart from or adding to
Mhm.
the working with the who am I and what it really means to be in your moment, right? So words like phrases we kind of throw around, typically to get people off our backs, to be honest, right? But then to really practice what it means to be in your moment, just take some time. It's like if you're not used to it, then it's a constantly going, oh, I'm not in my moment. Oh, okay. And we breathe and retry and we go, yeah, man, I'm so in my moment right now that I'm like not in my moment again. Oh, shoot. Okay. And so it's a constantly reevaluating, but then combining that with technique, you know, acting doesn't have to be only a mysterious thing. There are things we learn that we actually have to apply, right? Like how to exist in a close up, how to exist in a medium. Um, what do I have to do to get this same acting into here? And it's all like different. It's shifts, right? It's not, hey, please don't move your eyebrows. That's really what we need. We need the frame to be fairly still, but there's a reason uh, none of us are moving our eyebrows right now. We're not acting, you know, we're just listening, right? But as soon as we go, we're rolling and she listens. We go, I have to do should I act like I'm listening? How can I just exist? And it just, we get into our heads but there are techniques, right? And it has to be linked with things like who am I?
Hmm.
If I don't know who I am, it's really hard for me to just exist anywhere, you know? I'm a big fan of text analysis, like literal, you know, because I do find text analysis classes, not mine, because I have a very specific version of text analysis, but often text analysis classes become interpretation, interpreting the scene or interpreting the monologue. We get into the world of, you know, what's going on here, right? What's happening in this scene, which I believe is step two after text analysis. So my opinion is that text analysis deals with strictly the facts of the text, like strictly. Um, I wasn't gonna, but I have it all set up here because I do it. I'm just gonna switch my camera view. Can I do that, Michael?
Yes, yeah, please do.
Yeah, okay. And then I'll just show you real quick. And then, oops, that's not right. It's all upside down.
Oh no, we can see it just fine.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Is it upside down?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. That's weird. It's upside down for me. Um, so you see how this is typically what one of my scripts will look like when I'm working on it, right? And I will identify, and I'm just really giving you the Coles notes here, but the most important thing for me is to identify the full thoughts, right? So what signifies a full, for me, in terms of the punctuation, the only thing that signifies for me the end of a full thought in English, because that's the only language I act in, is a period, a question mark, an exclamation point, or an interrobang. And an interrobang is a question mark exclamation point. You see that a lot in comedies. It's the huh kind of thing, right? It's like, are you kidding me? Kind of place. You see it in sitcoms a lot, right? Pickles?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. But for me, these are the facts that I start to deal with, right? I sold her a ticket that night, period. I only recognized her because dot dot dot. It's an ellipses. I'm thinking, right? The next thing I say is I chose. My character chooses to say, right? We played Foursquare together once. So that's the real text analysis. It's finding out the facts, right? I have like a whole system, as you can see, right? I write all these arrows here because it gives me a visual cue. There's no period there. There's no nothing. The line actually is, we played Foursquare together once, instead of, we played Foursquare together once. It's not written like that. So that's not to say once you do all this, that's it. It can't change. Because plenty of times I walk on set and the director's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, there's a period there. He's like, oh my God, I don't care about that. I'm like, oh, okay. So we're throwing everything I just did out the window. No problem. But at least I have somewhere to start from. And then when we talk about the cold read, the dreaded cold read, right? I've never been in a situation, well, that's not true. Often they'll give you at least a couple of minutes to look at your, the thing they want you to cold read. That's all you need to break down any text, right? I draw these little backward L's. I identify where an ellipses is. I draw my arrows, and boom, 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 boom. So now I know. I sold her a ticket that night, period. The next thing I'm going to say after that period is a brand new thought. I know that, right? So I go, I only recognized her because we played Foursquare together once. She introduced herself. So now I am just randomly tone shifting with each new thought. Like I'm not actually, I'm actually choosing to shift my tone to train my instrument to go, this is how my instrument has to exist for this particular monologue. And then I'll go back and I'll just read it over and over and over, right? And then that just helps me to understand the facts of what I'm saying. A couple of ellipses are circled as well, Lori is writing. Yes. Oh yeah, sorry. I was probably just teaching, so I was like showing them that that's where I was and to pay attention to them. But yes, thank you.
Beautiful. That's such a really fantastic concrete way to start, Raugi. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that helps.
Right? What a beautiful combination. We had to like fully esoteric, sort of imagistic sensory, and then the like utterly practical. Here's what it looks like. Right? This is a beautiful combination, from this man here.
Cool.
We've run a little bit over, and so we should probably let you go. I don't want to keep you too long. Thank you so much for offering your time today. Really appreciate having you in to talk about your process. And
thanks for asking me, Michael. It's a real honor to be here. I think this is great to offer what you're offering, in a time when I think we need it, right?
Thanks. Everybody love up Raugi before he goes. Bye, Raugi.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks again. Ciao.
Okay.
Thanks, Michael.